Right. So, what's up, y'all? It's your man Ernest, or you love Ernest, back again with another episode of the Ernest Thoughts Tarotcast. And this week's episode, I am going to attempt to, or just give my take on the question that I've seen floating around. You may have seen this floating around if you're into tarot and things of that nature, right? Um, about, I guess, tarot's relevancy within what one would call mainstream, right? Mainstream society, meaning like the world at large, essentially. Because believe it or not, tarot isn't necessarily like seen as this, um, I guess, spiritual practice or mainstream thing. So I'm going to attempt to answer the question, is it becoming mainstream? And I'm going to, answer another aspect of that question, answer another aspect that added, answer another question that I added to this talking point, or this, I guess, this question of, is tarot becoming mainstream? Because I usually just see the one question, and of course, people have their thoughts on it. To be honest with you, I haven't looked into anybody else's thoughts on this question here, only because if I'm being honest, I wasn't interested in hearing their thoughts on it, but also because I wanted to answer my own. I wanted to share my own thoughts, and I didn't want. Now, that's not to say that I'm opposed to it. If I do find someone else's thoughts, and you know, I revisit this topic in the future, it could be a chance where I end up taking an idea, getting an idea from somebody else because I was like, that's interesting. Let me revisit this topic here and add that, right? But I wanted to go into this topic with a fresh, um, I guess, a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of eyes, meaning I didn't want to check out anybody else's viewpoint on it before I answered it myself. Okay. So, as far as answering the first part, is tarot becoming mainstream? I think slowly but surely, but at this point in time, still no. Um, Simply because you might be someone who consume a lot of tarot, and that's the thing. A lot of people conflate what they consume a lot as what possibly society is consuming, or people, again, society at large in general, are consuming. That's just the algorithm feeding you what you're into. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that you don't have to be a content creator to at least have a basic, or you don't have to be a content creator, um, to you should have a basic understanding of what the algorithm is in regards to any platform, right? Especially content, platform where you are consuming content, right? You should have a basic understanding of how algorithms work, whether you create content or not. I say that to say that simply because you may not be someone who creates tarot content on whatever platform you consume it the most, yet you're seeing a bunch of tarot channels or tarot creators or this, that, and the third, even folks being recommended to you outside of the people that you choose to follow within the tarot space. That does not mean that everybody on said platform is talking about tarot and everybody in the world is talking about it. It simply just means the algorithm notices that you are into tarot, and therefore they're going to recommend you tarot channels, tarot content creators. It's really that simple. when it comes to, and that's why I said that you don't have to be a content creator to understand or should be able to understand um, the basics of how algorithms work. You tune into something, and I'm not saying they work like this all the time, but in a general sense, how algorithms work is you tune into something that is of a specific topic. If you continue to go to said topic, the algorithms, in its most basic general sense, will notice that and then will continue to feed you that. Because and their eyes, they're like, this is what you like, this is what you're into. If it's going to keep you on this platform, I'm going to keep feeding you what you want. It's like, if you were to go to, and I don't want to give anyone some ideas, but if you were to go to a restaurant that is fully ran by AI, and you go to this restaurant, you continue to order the same food or even the same type of food, right? Over and over and over again. Eventually, right? You go to this restaurant one day and you don't even place your order. They just see you come in and they're, hi, Jan. Your name is Jan in this situation. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, right? Your name is Jan. So the AI is like, hi, Jan. We've got your food ready. You didn't even place your order, but they've already got your burgers and fries, if that's always what you order, or, if you're someone that's into Mediterranean food a lot, they already have a Mediterranean dish already there prepped for you, or they're prepping it at the moment. It's a dish within, I guess, the culture that you tend to eat, the food of a specific culture that you tend to eat. That's algorithm right there. That's how algorithms work. It's not, oh, this is a Mediterranean restaurant. No, it's not a Mediterranean restaurant. It's not become a mainstream. It's algorithm. You know what I'm saying? So the platform you are consuming tarot content on is not becoming a tarot centered content platform where it's going to be tarot channels on this thing, tarot content creators only or primarily. No, it's a platform where anyone can create content of anything. It just knows that you're not into sports, so you're not going to be recommended sports content. Now you can retrain things of that AI and algorithm by tuning into something different. Obviously, again, you watch all this tarot stuff, now all of a sudden you're into sports, or you want to look at sports highlights of the playoffs going on, the NBA playoffs, right? Now you start watching that stuff. The algorithm's going to notice that as well, and then it's going to start feeding you highlights of the Western Conferences playoffs and the Eastern Conferences playoffs and all this other stuff, which teams got eliminated because of your behavior. I say all that just to say that this whole idea of it's becoming mainstream. I just want people to understand the difference between what you tune into and what your friends and family and your peers in general and society at large is tuning into. Now, you may notice people that you follow, you never really interacted with, or you share things with, right? Might be into tarot, might be into some other things as well that you find yourself interested in. That's how things become more, I guess, consumed by society is people tune into something or they consume something, and it's a word of mouth thing, or it's well, I saw this individual who I follow show interest in this thing. They express their interest in this. Let me go check it out. And then they go check it out and they may have interest in it and they might share their viewpoint on it, or they might end up doing the same thing that they did to you, whereas someone who follows them might look at them and say, huh, so and so's into this, let me check it out. So in that essence it may become mainstream with tarot, but like I said, I think, like I was saying, my answer is slowly but surely. I think it is. I do believe that there are a lot more people than the weirdos online, in quotation marks, who, are on TikTok or on YouTube. You know, it's more than those folks who um, are consuming tarot content. You know, there's celebrities, people you may be a fan of, you don't even know, who are actually into tarot a lot, right? Tarot is not necessarily something a lot of people who are genuinely into it, who don't make it their whole, their entire personality. It's not something that they just just share and say, "Hey, I'm into this." Partially because it could be they don't want to be stigmatized. People who are into tarot are, thrown under an umbrella by people who are either into a mainstream, an actual mainstream spiritual or religious practice, or just people in general who see the wackos on TikTok behave in a certain way and believe because they see the wackos on TikTok who are into tarot behave in a certain way, they believe that everybody who's into tarot acts like those individuals. And then they, again, stigmatize us and say we are also wackos, like the individuals they see on TikTok or some other online space where wackos get together and spute their uh, wacko mindsets and thoughts and things, right? Yes, there are wackos in this space as well. Um, but as far as it becoming mainstream, um, I also wanted to answer the question, would that be a bad thing? I don't think it would be a bad thing if it becomes mainstream. I know there's a lot of tarot readers, quite a few that I listen to, who've pretty much said that it would be a bad thing if it became mainstream because now everybody is going to jump in on the well, let me start doing readings train and it's gonna muddy up the field or whatever the case is. And then you got those who are just not genuine at all individuals, and they're gonna do damage. It's a hustle to them, right? So they're gonna try to con the system as much as possible. Yeah, that's a possibility. I have no doubt in my mind that that is definitely something that could happen. And that would happen had, tarot become, if tarot were to become like real big mainstream by the end of this week, right? Or sometime. But what those folks don't take into account is it's happening right now as not mainstream or as underground, if you want to call it, as tarot still is. It's still a very niche topic, and yet it's still riddled with scammers. It's still riddled with liars and opportunists and people who are conning folks. If your fear is the bigger it gets, the bigger the I guess the playing field it becomes for more scammers. I can see that argument, but then if you're genuine, if you are someone who's genuine, whether you're a reader, whether you're someone who, because tarot at the end of the day, it's all about using your discernment. Discernment is the ultimate guide of tarot, astrology, tarot, all of that. It's discernment. It's not what the cards are saying. It's a tool, and I would talk about this in future episodes. It's definitely a tool. It's definitely a way for you to help guide you in life. but it's not the end all be all. Discernment is what you really need to be practicing when you're in tarot, not just when it comes to your personal reads, but who you get your information from in the first place. So, if you, as someone who is into tarot, and you genuinely believe that this is a tool that every human being should be practicing because of its very beautiful benefits and relevance to the lives of humanity, you would want more people to have eyes, and you would want more eyes and ears on this thing as possible. People have free will at the end of the day. They'll get to decide whether it's something for them or not. But you can't be someone who is on these platforms crying about how people are doing themselves a disservice by not being into tarot. But then when you see more and more people into tarot, you have these fears that it's becoming too mainstream to the point where it's going to open up the floodgates for scammers and opportunists. And as I said right before, and I'm going to say it again, we already have that within the community right now. If you haven't seen them, God bless you. It's either you've been blessed not to interact or see them folk. They haven't tried you, like many of them have tried me. All failed, but nonetheless they've tried. Or yeah, I'm just gonna come out and flat out say you can't tell the difference between the scammers and the non-scammers. While you're fearing scammers coming into the space, they're already here. You can't really tell the difference. So what does it matter if there's 100 scammers now or 1,000 or 1,000,000 scammers later on? You still wouldn't be able to tell the difference. What you should be doing right now is wising yourself up to how to spot these scammers. Again, using your discernment. Right now, while there's only 100, I don't I'm that's just a number. This is not statistics. That's just a number I'm putting out. But right now, while there's just only 100 or so, you should want to know how to spot them. So, if or when tarot becomes a mainstream thing and more scammers try to come into play, you're able to spot them. Because if you can't not spot 100 scammers now, you're not going to be able to spot 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 of them in the future. You're just not. So don't take that out on, don't be the hypocrite who, again, who tries to scold people and say things like, you need tarot in your life. You don't believe in this. You're da 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 da. But then when people are trying to get into the space, it's, no, we don't need more people into the space. That's going to open up the floodgates for more scammers. Which one is it? Do you want more people or do you not? Because it seems as though what you want is to have this knowledge. And this is the thing I've noticed a lot, especially when I was first getting into tarot. What you want is to have some type of knowledge over people just so you can start flexing and say you know something that other people don't know. I noticed that with a lot of women in this space when it comes to men who are into tarot. That's a episode on its own. All right, there's many episodes that I've pretty much hinted at. I have in my notes, but I many episodes that I pretty much hinted at within this one episode here, because this one episode, this conversation branches off many different topics and discussions. I believe we should have in this space here, this tarot space here. But it really depends on if the people are willing to have those discussions. It's like with a reading, of course, it depends on if people are willing to have these discussions. when those discussions will be had. But I don't want to stay too long. I pretty much want to answer the question again, like, is tarot becoming mainstream, and is that a problem if it is? Once again, to reiterate for anyone who, didn't catch it the first or second time I mentioned it, I'll say it again. I think slowly but surely, but right now, still no. Again, do not conflate your algorithm with what the world's algorithm is. The world's algorithm is still what is actual mainstream. So, music, mainstream music, sports, things outside of tarot. And even if we're talking about spiritual practices, tarot is still not a mainstream spiritual practice. At one point in time, before all the internet and before everything, before modern society, that may have been the case for sure, but that's definitely not the case now. If you want to get to a point like that, you know what to do. But as far as it being a bad thing, if it is becoming mainstream, no, I don't think it's a bad thing. I, for one, believe I am one of the individuals who believe that people are doing themselves a disservice by not looking into tarot. I'm not saying you got to be tarot dependent, but to totally dismiss it as some wacko ideology, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. But I'm also not someone who's going to have that mindset and then scream, it's becoming too mainstream because now I'm seeing my friends and family and all these other people who weren't into it before being into it. No, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, to me at least. But I would love to know your thoughts. So feel free to share them wherever you're listening to this. And yeah, until next time, until next episode, you hear from me when you hear from me. Peace out.